and then on the gums of my lower jaw until I felt the familiar tingle and numbness. "Oh yeah, that's good," I said. "I am to please," T said with a laugh. And just as T started to spoon the Coke onto the scale, a large shadow passed by the side window. "What was that?" I said, standing up and walking over to the window. T ignored me, focused on measuring the Coke. The window looked out on an empty, overgrown lot strewn with empty bottles and crumpled fast food bags. Then I saw it, on the edge of the roof of an abandoned house next door, just about 10 yards away. A huge hawk, with a rodent dangling from its white curved beak. The bird tilted its head and looked at me with intense golden eyes. This creature was impressive. I didn't know it at the time, but I was looking at a red-tailed hawk, one of the most common hawks in North America. I'd always been fascinated by birds, especially the big ones like hawks, owls, falcons, eagles, and vultures. The first large bird I ever saw was a bald eagle. I must have been in the 3rd or 4th grade, and our class went on a trip to the National Zoo on Connecticut Avenue in Woodley Park. The wingspan of that eagle was close to 8 feet. Its curved yellow beak was imposing, and it had wicked sharp talons from which almost nothing would escape death. The white feathers on its head rippled across the tops of his eyes, making him look proud and defiant. For a kid like me from the D.C. housing projects, this was mesmerizing. And so began my obsession with raptors. They were fierce. They were deadly. They were respected. That's what I aimed to be. And now, with my guns and dogs, I was. It wasn't just large birds that fascinated me as a child. From the beginning, animals and curiosity about them were a major part of my life. Even growing up in the dirty, violent streets of Southeast, a connection to nature always ran through my body, as natural as the blood in my veins. If I had to guess, I'd say it came from my mom's side. Her grandmother had a farm in Falls Church, Virginia. Cows, pigs, chickens, ducks, you name it, it was on my great-granny's farm. Sometimes Mom would take us there on weekends. The smell of hay, manure, fresh earth, and animal made me laugh out loud. I don't know why, it just made me so happy. Whenever we went to the farm, I felt like I was home, not only in a physical way, but in my heart, like my heart was home. That's also why I couldn't resist hooking school and going to the zoo at Woodley Park. When I was old enough, about 13 or 14, I'd hop the bus to 10th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, get on the subway, transfer at Metro Center, and then walk the 10 blocks up to the zoo. It took about an hour to get there. Almost as impressive to me as the raptors were the big animals. Elephants, tigers, lions, hippos. They had power. You had to respect them. I began to understand at an early age that human relationships with anything wild require 3 things: love, patience, and most of all, respect. It sounds simple, but I would eventually learn that it's not easy at all. If something is untamed and wild, then it has a spirit that can't be crushed. That doesn't mean we should be afraid of it. It just means we have to take the time to learn about it and understand it. Once we understand the wild things, we understand ourselves. At least that's what ended up happening with me. I was still at the window watching that hawk. It worked its prey back and forth in its beak until just the tail was hanging out, and then that was gone. We looked at each other, and the hawk let out a raspy scream that I could hear even through the closed window. I think it was proud to have an audience. He looked around for a moment, then spread its huge wings and took off with his red-orange tail feathers outspread. I pressed my face against the window so I could watch him glide in a rising current of air. I almost felt like I was flying away with him, beyond the rooftops, beyond the housing projects, beyond this drug deal, beyond the death and destruction. "Hey, Rodney, what's out there? You want to finish this up or what?" "Yeah, man, yeah. I walked back over to the couch and took a close look at the scale. It looked like a perfect measurement of 7 grams to me. I pulled a roll of $100 bills from my pocket and counted out $1,500, trying to avoid any pressure on my bandaged hand. "Here you go, man," I said, handing T the money. "Much obliged," T said with a laugh, carefully putting my dope into a glass vial.